Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
We have over 500 drills. It's like cool, but like that does not matter. Like how it's applied matters. Like the goal isn't to be good at our top hand drill. The goal is to have a better top hand. It's not about being good in training. It's actually figuring out how to make your misses better in game. Make your game swing better, not your training swing better.
He was focusing so much on like stick it finishes. The issue wasn't that he couldn't stay through. His issue was actually his first move was so he was drifting and pushing forward. Once his first move was correct, then he stayed on the train track versus like he was already off the train track and then thinking just because he finished his palm up that he's now staying through the ball.
Get you to understand how to be your best coach. How do I do that? Is get to understand yourself, more importantly, like self-awareness, but also understand what's actually happening when you miss.
These pro hitters, they're just as much searching and like trying to figure things out.
You gotta coach the player, not necessarily tell him everyone needs to do the Freddie Freeman stuff. Not everyone needs to do the Juan Soto stuff or the Judge stuff. It all just depends on what they need. What does that mean to you?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We got a super awesome video for you guys today as we sit down with Trey Hannam. But first, I just want to kindly ask you if you guys could please subscribe to the channel. We've been uploading about 2 or 3 videos a week, whether it's podcast shows, swing breakdowns, or just showing off the day-to-day work I do with hitters here at Zeal. We're looking to make this YouTube channel, a great resource for athletes, parents, and coaches in their baseball journey. So we appreciate the support. So without further ado, let's get into the conversation with Trey. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. So we're going to do things a little bit differently in this episode instead of just talking about you. Most people know who you are. We're going to go through your tweets. Obviously, if you know Trey, you know he's a great follow on Twitter. A lot of good, whether it's mentality, hitting, just baseball in general, life. He's a great guy to follow. So we're going to go through some of his tweets, kind of go a little bit more in depth and kind of get his thoughts, and we'll kind of just see where the conversation goes. So let's do it. All right. So first one is, being a hitting coach goes way deeper than simply looking at video. It's a conversation. What are they feeling? What are they trying to do? What do they want to achieve? Video plus the person equals working together. Video tells a lot, but so does the person 100%. In the video.
So obviously, I'll talk to you about what that kind of means to you. And obviously, a lot of other coaches are going to kind of have the same thought process behind that. But my thought behind that is, no matter what we're seeing in video, like Barry Bonds or the local top recruit or a college player that we want to see, or you know what I mean? No matter what we want to see on video, we don't actually know what's happening because we don't know what they're trying to do, right? This got me kind of mind screwed up. I don't want to say the F word, but mind screwed up this offseason because like, man, think about Mookie, think about Harper, think about these guys. What happens if we're trying to create Mookie, Trout, Pujols, whoever, but we're trying to create their actual movements on video, but they're creating those movements by doing something else. So say like Bryce Harper, right? We don't know, but like say he's trying to create that open stomach core stretch move with a deep barrel, but say he's creating that by hammering down forward, right? But if he tries to actually create those movements that he's actually creating, the deep barrel, the open core, that type of stuff, like the stretch across the middle, whatever. What happens if he's trying to do the opposite of that, and that's what creates that? So it's like, man, what happens if we're trying to create a bunch of Mookies, but by trying to create a bunch of Mookies, we can't actually create Mookie because he's not actually trying to do that. It's tough. So creating the movements doesn't always work on video when it's a 2D, 3D type thing, because when we actually see the underneath, the mental, what they're actually trying to do physically, maybe they're trying to stay close, right? It's so tough. It's so tough. So I feel like having that conversation with those players opens it up. I feel like that's why so many players and just coaches, just in fans in general, they love hearing from these players actually understanding what they're actually trying to do. No matter what the video says, hey, I'm trying to stay close, I'm trying to work down on it, blah, blah, blah. But we don't actually know what they're trying to do. We can look at it, we can think, we can hope that we can guess, but we don't actually know what they're trying to do unless we actually talk, text, call them.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think too, like, it becomes an easier process when you, like you said, the athlete. Like for me, even like when an athlete's coming in, or for example, pro guy, like will send me video before he comes in, I might think I know what he's thinking, but it's like they'll fly in and, the second they're in the cage, I'm like, oh, you're not even close to thinking, because it looks like you barrel tip. So I'm thinking, oh, you must tip your hands. And they're like, no, I'm thinking flat. I'm like, okay, so yeah. Yeah. Yep. 100%. And it's like trying to understand the individual first for me, and then that usually helps with the video. Like you said, though, it's become such a video. I know even for me in my playing career, I, tried to copy people because I thought they moved similar to me. But like, I looked at a lot of people that, tip their bat because I naturally kind of had that flow that tip my bat. And then I'm like, I'd get more messed up because I'm trying to copy someone that doesn't move how I move. But yeah, so like you said, it kind of just can screw things up unless you know like exactly what the person is thinking and feeling in that move.
Think about Barry Bonds' body. Think about what he actually has underneath the skin. The CNS system, the muscles, the mindset. Like you try to match the movements up with Barry Bonds, it's like cool, but like what actually matters is what's underneath the swing, the actual engine, the CNS, the mentality, the hand-eye coordination, all those endless reps that nobody ever sees. Obviously, maybe some steroids in there, but like you know what I mean. Like the actual underneath stuff is what matters. But I feel like matching the video is kind of the easier part, but actually matching the stuff that matters, the inside, the brain, the eyes, the CNS system, the muscles. That's the hard part. So we got to make sure that we understand that these people are actually players. A really common question I ask players before I actually start touching them and actually working with them, either remotely or in person, is what have you been trying in the past? Because we don't know all those reps that you used to try, the hammer down, the stay back, the get forward, the swing up, the swing down, all that correlates into their product now. It's all a byproduct of what they're actually trying to do. All the bat speed stuff, all the bat path stuff. So it's like, all those reps that you used to do when they were 12, it still matters. That's what helps programs to what they are now. So it's getting to know the actual players is so important.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good point too, is like sometimes you're fighting against something that they also did in the past too. Like I know a lot of guys I work with are, huge, steep, choppy, knob to the ball or whatever, get on top, chop, just because that's what they were taught their whole life. And it's like, okay, we're trying to promote a move, but at the same time, you have to remember, like in their head, their body's taken thousands of reps chopping wood. So it's like you're fighting what they need to do plus what they've also have been doing their entire life. So that's a good question too. I think that's common. Like, I think I always do like same thing. Questions like, what typically are you thinking? Whether it's path, load, whatever it is, like timing. Like, what are your thoughts to get you to your spot?
The common miss I've been seeing a lot lately is super odd. It's not what people say on social media. It's so many players now are like pushing their barrel, and it's like, okay, why are they pushing the barrel? What's your approach? Like, what are you trying to do? What have you been taught to do? I've been taught to go oppo. It's like, okay. Oppo is really good, but not if you're flaring everything and that's your miss, and it's a super late laggy, right? So it's like, all right, I hate to say it, but I want you to pull everything. Then we figure out how to take that pull side delivery, the actual turn, and you're actually delivering everything. We figure out how to take that pull side swing that's super efficient and fast, oppo. But if you keep on trying to go oppo, you're going to keep on dragging your bat and pushing the knob and all that type of stuff. I've been seeing that a lot lately. I just think that's just the common theme. Hey, get inside the ball and that type of stuff. But I don't know what it is, but I've been seeing that a lot lately. A lot more than the swing up, swing down, stay back stuff. It's more oppo. It's like, man, you can't even hit the ball oppo because you're trying to go oppo so much. Like, you're not even squaring up to the ball. You're not delivering anything. So it's tough, but it's all a correlation back to each other.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said too, like literally describes me. Like I tell the story a lot, but in summer ball, I was always just messing with stuff on my swing and trying to, evolve. But I had a teammate that was probably the smoothest hitter I've ever seen. He's Dominican, like smooth hand, smooth rhythm, and he just crushed the ball. So I was always picking his brain. And I remember like I was struggling a little bit for a couple games. So I was kind of like, hey, what do you focus on? He was righty, but he was like, I'm just trying to hit line drive at the second baseman's head, let everything go to right field. And I was like, okay, bet. So I like get in the box before the game, and I'm just like dragging and pushing so bad to like slice everything to shortstop. And my coach was like, what the hell are you doing, dude? And I'm like, oh, Marcus, he tries to, and he was like, my approach was always kind of like hit a line drive off a pitcher's head, but he was like, go back to hitting a line drive off a pitcher's head because you're not delivering your barrel at all. You're
also the Freddie Freeman shortstop video, and it's like, okay, but like a lot of players don't need that. He needs that because he knows he's going to get around it, he's going to fly off. Like, he even says that. So many players, like Christian Yelich, he's the exact opposite. Or Juan Soto, he's the exact opposite. The home run derby always locks him in because he turns and burns and he gets the ball in the air and he swings a little bit more up, that type of stuff. So like Freddie Freeman, like, that's good for you. Like, that's what you need. But like other players, they don't need that because they're going to keep on getting stuck under and that type of stuff. Some guys need to feel turn and burn, pull side, and let it fly up in the air because they already do the Freddie Freeman too much. So if they're already Freddie Freeman esque, right? Like, they're already inside out and on top of the ball. Like, you keep doing more than that, it's going to get worse. It's like, all right, it's tough. So we got to coach the player, not necessarily tell him everyone needs to do the Freddie Freeman stuff, or not everyone needs to to do the Juan Soto stuff or the Judge stuff. It all just depends on what they need and what their misses are.
Yeah, 100%. That will segue us into the second tweet almost perfectly. So second tweet is, I see this a lot. Hitters misdiagnose their swing issue. By doing it, they keep doing it worse and worse. Your example in the tweet was popping up, just missing underneath. Hitter would say, I'm swinging up too much. I'm dropping my barrel. I watched the video. They're forward, downhill, clipping the bottom of the ball.
But coach is to get you to understand how to be your best coach. How do I do that? Is get to understand yourself, more importantly, like self-awareness, but also understand what's actually happening when you miss. Therefore, you're going to have longer hot streaks and colder cold streaks. You're going to be wondering what's actually going on a lot less. So it's like, hey, I keep missing under. It's like, okay, Trey told me, Trey showed me on the video, Trey showed me on whatever. When I miss under, this is because I'm dropping my hands or I'm chopping down or whatever. Hey, I'm pulling off. It's like, all right, why am I pulling off? Trey taught me, hey, I'm pulling off because I'm late, and then I got to recover by spinning out. So I don't need to fix the pulling off. It's a timing issue. Yep. So it's like my job as a hitting coach is to help you be your best you. So I try to explain as much as possible. It's a lot of teaching. So I ask a lot of questions when I'm teaching. It's like, okay, why'd you pull off? Or I was like, hey, what happened there? And they're like, I pulled, no, it was timing. It was timing. And it's like, yes, it was completely timing. I still catch some players of, hey, I pulled off, I dropped my hands, or I did whatever. It's like, no, remember, timing is always the number one thing that messes up swings. You simply pulled off, you dropped the hands, you missed under, blah, 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 simply because the ball was too deep on you and you had nothing left and you were handcuffed. So simply try to hit the ball more out front and everything should clean up. And it does it, and it's over and over and over. Like, man, 100%. My swing never feels off when I'm on time.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I think too, like a lot of times kids I train will ask me like, oh, what's the difference you see between like high school guy and a pro guy? And I say like, usually the pro guy has more body awareness. Maybe not always the case, but typically they understand their misses a little bit. But on that situation, like for example, pro guy, all off season before I started working with him, he was focusing so much on like stick it finishes, finishing through, like sticking the finish, because he said he always like spun off. And I always tell this to high school guys because like once I saw him in the cage, I realized like he was diagnosing. His issue wasn't that he couldn't stay through. His issue was actually his first move was so he was drifting and pushing forward. So he thought, oh, I just need to stay through and stick it. And so when we realized like, no, you need to think about like getting your barrel to turn behind you first. Once his first move was correct, then he stayed on the train track versus like he was already off the train track and then thinking just because he finishes palm up that he's now staying through the ball. And he was just having like a really pushy swing. He couldn't even pull the ball backspin. So like I said, like if a pro guy can't even diagnose like exactly what the issue is, like you really, even as a, high school, college hitter, like you really need to dive in and make sure that you are attacking or at least know what you need to attack. So you're not just like doing the same rep over and over again. This pro guy literally was like, yeah, for the last month, I've been doing just like stick it 3/4 finishes, everything like that.
It's crazy. Fixing the first move or the first part of the swing cleans up the direction so much. I posted a Bryce Harper video, and it's like so many players are worried about direction, but before they even swing, their chest is wide open. So it's like there's no chance you're going to have direction. So stop trying to do the stick it. Stop trying to have a long through finish. You're going to be long through left field. That's all it's going to happen in the right field if you're a lefty. It's tricky, but college, pro, 12U, professional, Hall of Famer, I'm dealing with it every single day. These players need taught. Like, you wouldn't believe, Hall of Famer talking to me, and I'm like, man, this dude is incredible, but like he really doesn't know. Like, he knows how to play, he knows how to hit, like way better than any of us, but like he doesn't know how to actually diagnose the video. He's never done it, he's never struggled. So it's like I have to like guide him to actually like understand, like, hey, this is when you're really good, this is when you're really bad. I understand you know how to hit better than all of us, but like when you're good, this is how you move. When you're bad, this is how you move. This is your misses when you're good. This is your misses when you're bad. That type of stuff. Just teaching him. I'm definitely not telling him anything. Like, he knows what to do. I'm just kind of teaching him and guiding him on some of the missed, kind of the blind spots in his hitting. Yeah,
100%. Because I remember the first time I worked with a pro hitter, like 2.5, 3 years ago. I remember like one of my buddies I worked with was just like, "Oh, how was that? I was probably sick. You didn't have to do much." And I was like, I was blown away how like little the hitter knew about himself, and how he was like I noticed something in his swing and was like, oh, like for this hitter, I was like, can you not catch up the fastballs? And he's like, no, I literally foul him back. And I'm like, and he was like, how'd you know that? And I'm like, I literally saw like 4 swings off the machine. Like, and so that's where I was like, these pro hitters, like you said, like even Hall of Fame level hitters, like they're just as much searching and like trying to figure things out just as much as, you know, some high school kids. Obviously, the hitting ability and the hitting tool and the mentality is probably way better. But it's like they just need to continuously still at their age, like learn their body, learn their moves, learn what keeps them on track, what the field could get if it's bad, like how to keep them in line into that swing. I think that's a really good point too, because I think so many young hitters are like, man, once I get the pro ball, like I'm going to have the coaches and just figure it out. Should see how many, I was talking about this with my guy Cito, but how many hitters are reaching out to outside hitting coaches. Not anything against their current hitting coaches, but it's like they're trying to get whatever help they can.
The better you get, the harder it gets because everyone's coming for you. Everyone's looking for your blind spot. Tough. I've never posted this.
Yep.
The best player I worked with this offseason is the toughest player I've ever trained, which is super crazy, right? Everyone think like, man, you just went and trained him and it was super easy. It's like, no, it was actually the opposite, because what makes him really good also hurts him. It's very, very tough. I don't want to go into detail about that or who it was, but like what makes them really good a lot of times also hurts them because they're typically so aggressive, or that's what also makes them really good. And I don't want to back that down too much. We don't want to take away what makes them really good, but a lot of times like that aggression, that type of stuff, it hurts them in the batter's box. But it's like, how much do I really want to back that down? Because that's what makes them really good. So it's tough. Like these dudes, it's not as easy as it looks. It's not as easy as doing a one drill path. It's not easy. Because obviously what makes them really good is there's so many reps that is done to make them really good. So much patterning, so much programming in their mind and their body and their swing. It's not as easy as it looks. It's actually way tougher. But I also think that's what makes it really hard to be a professional hitting coach and to work with those guys, because it actually is tougher for me. So it's like, I was talking to a guy last week and it's like, your misses are so minuscule and your adjustments are so small, nobody would know what's actually going on. Like nobody would actually know what your adjustments are because the game is so fast and the misses and makes are so minuscule that nobody knows. And like a 12U player and a high school player, like it's 100% day and night. But like a Hall of Famer, a really good player, a first rounder, like it's a lot of times it's so much smaller, but that's what makes the big difference because the game is so centimeter, millisecond difference up there.
Yeah. No, I like that too about like, sometimes like a hitter makes a huge change and you don't even notice it. Like, again, it's especially tougher in the season. But I have a hitter who you wouldn't be able to tell from a video he posted, but like he made a huge, at least mental change or feel change with his load. And I have a group chat we're in with some other hitters that he's friends with. And they were like, dude, your swing's just looking so consistent. And he was like, guess what I changed today? And they were like, leg kick? And he was like, no, like it wasn't even close to what he actually did. And they're like, oh, we can't even tell. Like, it just looks consistent. And he was like, to me, it felt like such a huge change and huge difference. But like you say, it is tough too I feel for like hitting coaches too, because you have different personalities. Like, it's not like every hitter does the same thing. Like if you watch that video with Harold Reynolds with Ohtani, Freeman, and Mookie, they're talking about the routines and stuff. And Ohtani's like, yeah, I just do T and some flips. That's it. And it's like, bro, what? Like one of the best hitters ever just does that. Like he's like, that's all I want to do. All right, let's go to ready for the next topic. All right, so next tweet we got says, many think that I have an extensive amount of drills for hitters or secrets. I do. The secret is simply the execution of the drills, the communication on how they can help. The best drills are the ones that can blend into your game swing runs.
What does that mean to you?
I think that sometimes people can get so obsessed with the swing that they just perfect it in a super easy controlled environment where you could be, T front toss, my bat speed's great, my path is great, my whatever, even if you're using data, my path score is great. But then the second you're in a game situation, it's not like that at all. So I think sometimes it's like, okay, I could drill you to death, but if that doesn't translate to even the machine, it's not even going to translate to the game. So it's like, let's make sure that we can have those moves and get those moves off in a game-like environment or the game itself, and make sure that our training is, going to build a swing that performs in game. Like I can have a front toss hero that can't catch up to velo because his timing's terrible or his control's terrible, whatever it is.
Yeah, so many coaches that there's a new business out there or whatever, and a baseball business, like a training business, and it's like, we have over 500 drills. It's like, cool, but like that does not matter. Like how it's applied matters. Like that literally doesn't matter at all. You could have all the best books, you could have all the biggest library behind me, but if you don't actually apply it to your life, the best kind of advice, I like reading books. It's really good for like mental clarity for me. I get so many notifications, just like shut everything off and simply just go read a good book from a mentor or whoever. And this guy, he's actually now will be coach. He said, my mentor told me, don't read so many books. Read one chapter, read one page, and go apply that for a week and see what happens. Like, that's the goal. Like, the goal is to apply what we read. Sometimes it's for enjoyment, sometimes for relaxation, whatever. Like, the goal is to figure out how to apply it to our game, to actually our life, right? So the goal isn't to be good at our top hand drill. The goal is to have a better top hand. And a really good quote or a really good kind of phrase or lifestyle that I like to live with players is figure out what you need to get better at in the game. And in training, do that. And if you miss or struggle with something in training, do your adjustment that you need too much. So many players are trying to be really good in training, but it's not about being good in training. It's actually figuring out how to make your misses better. And your obviously your makes better, but your misses better in game. Make your game swing better, not your training swing better. So we got to figure out how to actually apply the drills and to try our needs almost too much in training so they actually apply in the game. Don't just try to keep on having the same swing or a training swing.
Yeah. And my question, kind of a follow-up on that is do you think that difficult training or like failing in training hurts players from doing that? I know for a lot of college guys I know, they literally all off season. I mean, I did the same thing, but like just front toss, maybe some dart toss, and that was it. And it was like the second we got the machine out, you'd lose 75% of the hitters because they're like, oh, it's just gonna mess up my swing. It's like, all right, well, we can't catch up to 85 right now in a game. So like maybe we should put the machine at 95 and just see like if there's something we can do to fix it. And I think too many times it's like the fear of failing, or like, I guess the ego side of it where it's like, I don't want to like look dumb in front of people, where it's like, yeah, well, you're hurting your chances of actually improving your misses or improving that swing.
100%. So here's a crazy story. My senior year of college, I dove deep into the hitting mechanical stuff, like the Barry Bonds pool stuff. Senior year of college, Christmas break, our head coach got a foam ball machine, and it was just tearing us up. And I said, hey, coach, can I take that home for Christmas break? Obviously, it's going to sit here. Nobody's using it. Can I take it home? He said, yeah, go crazy. And so I took it home. First day, me and my hitting partner, we got destroyed on it. Like, I hit it decent. He got destroyed. We're like, no, screw this. We got to go fix this. And we went and fixed it, right? Path, bat speed, launch quickness, whatever. And we never got back to it. Why? Because it sucked getting kind of blown up. It sucked feeling bad, right? We always wanted to feel good. But here's another crazy story. One of the best hitters I saw last year, he came in for maybe 3 to 4 sessions. He's now a Division I Power 5 player. It was the ugliest batting practice swings I ever saw. So obviously there are some adjustments there. But then I asked him, hey, how'd you grow up? What got you here? What got you to be such a great bat to ball hitter? And Power 5, he plays at Iowa. He's insane. Not the prettiest, but it's like all I focused on doing was playing wiffle ball, and I just tried to destroy the pitcher or the pitch coming at me. And like I didn't focus on anything else. I just wanted to hit the ball. Like that's all he cared about. So like obviously it's much easier to adjust that type of hitter who just wants to dominate the ball coming over the plate, and he can hit anything and everything because that's just how he's grown up. He's never done tee. He's never really done machine. It's always been simulated games and wiffle ball. It's much easier to help that hitter get a better path, get a better launch position, whatever, than the player who has a great launch position but can't hit a lick, right? We'd much rather have the engine, the bat ball skills, the actual underlying stuff that helps you hit, rather than the guys who can just do the drills really well. So a lot of times it's like, hey, like, yeah, you need to do your drills for like maybe like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, feel good. But like, we're going to come in here and get ambushed, and you're not going to feel good about it, but the game is to feel good. And the goal is to feel good in the game, not to feel good in practice.
I like that too, because I think, again, this is kind of taking a different side of this conversation, but like younger kids, younger athletes, I don't train a lot of young kids like at all. I think I usually just work with like high school guys, high school, college, pro. But I had a parent who I train his older son, and he has a younger son. He's like, oh, what do you think we should get him in here too? And I was like, he was like 12, and I was like, you know, how much does he play? And he's like, oh, he just loves the game. So he's always playing wiffle ball in the backyard. You know, he'll play stick ball with his brothers. You know, he's always going with friends and playing pickup. And I was like, just keep having him do that for a while. like develop the bat to ball skills and develop the love for the game. Because if, like you said, if you have that, then like, yeah, when he's 14, 15 and he's going to come in here, like, then we can really just refine everything and like make sure we control his athlete. But you already have those, you know, those skills where it's like, I think too many younger athletes are like, let's make sure we have the perfect swing. And then like they literally look perfect in a showcase video hitting side flips or whatever.
This conversation, it was an interview posted with Blue Book. I forgot what the thing was, but it was a posted thing. And I said, okay, what's the most important thing for a youth player in the game of baseball? Say he's 9. What's the most important thing you want him to do? What is it?
For me, I would say like love the game. Like I think for me, the reason I was able to like go after it, I would say like the two together, like loving the game and just like developing the bat to ball skills. I don't know if that's like the idea or the perspective you were taking on that.
What's fun? Hitting the ball and seeing it go over the bushes? Every single time, right? So it's like, what's the last thing you want to do at the back in the backyard in your family's at the what's the last thing you want to do when you're at a backyard barbecue, right? And your family's at the patio, everyone's watching, and you're 12U. Like, what do you want to do the most? But also, what's the last thing you want to do? Swing and miss. Like, you want to be the best bat to ball skill hitter, right? You don't necessarily need to crush it, but like you want to just have fun, put the barrel on the ball, and run the bases, right? So it's like, all right, what's the most fun thing for these players to make sure they stay in the game? Is to hit the ball consistently. So it's like, let's train that. Everything now is velocity, X velocity, bat speed, all that type of stuff. And I get it, 100%. We want to be able to create like monsters, like studs, like Mustang motors, right? Or Corvettes, right? But it's like, what happens if you're doing that, but they can't hit a lick? It's like, they're not going to love the game. So let's make sure they love the game. And like, engine and the motor and the Mustang motor and the Corvette motor, like it takes a long time to develop, but it's like, it's not worth developing if they don't love the game. So let's make sure they love the game by hitting the ball a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, story for me too, like, this was last year, but one of the younger kids I worked with, again, I don't work with too many now, but he came in and it was a situation where dad was a little more excited for him to come in than he was. And he was a good kid, like good skills, didn't have the best bat to ball skills, but like it was like 2-3 times in a row. It was like the last place he wanted to be was in the cage with me. The last thing he wanted to be doing was playing baseball. And I remember he went to the car after and his dad was just like, how do you think he's doing? And I said, like, he's got talent. And I was just like, I don't mean to be rude, but like, does he want to be here? And he was like, he's like hit or miss. And I was like, okay. And he's like, sometimes he wants to play. And I was like, what does he do when he goes home? Does he like playing like wiffle ball but he's like, no, that's my daughter. My daughter wants to go out and have me throw her front toss. And he'd rather just like be inside. And I was like, that's not bad. Like, that's not a bad thing. But I'm like, maybe don't come in as often. Like, it sounded bad, but I was just like, if he's dying, like, hey, I want to go hit with Dave, like, let's go, let's get to work. But I'm like, he needs to have that love for the game. If he doesn't, one, he's probably not going to be playing much longer. So you're going to be wasting your money on me, like, whatever. But it's like, if he's not going to be in there giving it his all, I mean, I think part of me, that's why I like working with older kids, because they're coming in because they want to work with me. But it was a difficult conversation, but, you know, they started shortening. He was coming in every week. He started coming in once or twice a month. But it was like, we got more out of the sessions because he wanted to be there.
A really good, that happens a lot across the country, everywhere. The parent wants it more. And I love parents. I love talking to them. But a lot of times it's really killing them because they're pushing them so much. It's not they're pushing them. It's just like, they just don't want to do it. So just like, stop making them do it. But it's also tricky because like these players hitting a ball with a round bat and round ball, it's hard. So it's like the best thing I've seen is like, hey, like throw them basketballs, get them a tennis racket and just like see how far they can hit a tennis ball. It's like, have fun with it as much as possible. And maybe they do start falling in love with it. So it's tricky. I'm in a tough situation with a player right now. And it's like, do I take away hitting? Do I do something like that? Because it's like, that's his favorite thing to do. So it's like, let's make sure that they love hitting and we make it easy for them, not hard on them. But yeah, that wanting to do it versus have to do it is, it's a very tricky subject with those type of athletes. And yeah, I'll work with 12U, I'll work with 9U, whoever. It just depends on the situation. But like, if they don't want it, then I'm not going to give you my all. I gave you my all. Therefore, I'm not going to waste my time when somebody else wants my all instead of you. So that's where I'm at with that.
I understand. So last thing I want to go into is kind of the mentality thing. We're going to go with one of your tweets mixed with an Alex Hormozi tweet that we were talking about kind of off camera. So one of your tweets was, it says, Trey, what separates the best hitters you've seen from everyone else? Then you said, they think they can hit any pitcher. Everything feels like a mismatch. They have the ability to hit everything. They don't miss. They'll miss hit balls, but won't miss. And then you said, until pro ball. And then we'll take that into the quote. You have the full quote, but just the idea of it's Alex Hormozi that just talks about like be around the greats, like people that know what it feels like, know what it tastes like, know what it takes to get to the next level, like people that aren't satisfied. So I kind of want to, this will be kind of a broad topic, but we'll just kind of take it where it goes.
Best thing I've seen from the high level hitters is they know how good they are, but they also have a little bit of, definitely not insecurity, but they have a little bit of, hey, I need to also keep getting better because people are coming for my top spot and pitchers are coming for me. When they see my name on the scouting report, like they're scouting me a little bit harder than everyone else, and they're coming after me. Their fastball that's normally 95 or 85 is now 2 or 3 ticks harder because of who I am and how I do. So I need to make sure I'm ready for it. But they kind of have the arrogance, the very high confidence behind them, and the conviction that they're nasty, right? I'm nasty, but also like I'm nasty, but I also got to keep getting better. That's the biggest thing I'm seeing. I've yet to talk to a player that thinks they're nasty but don't think they need to keep getting better. How do you think they started getting nasty?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think 100% you see that is, because I feel like, at least in my experience, it's not like insecurity, it's more like hunger. Like they know how good they are, and it's like, well, how much better could I be? More than just like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. It's more like, okay, I know I can do this. I know that I can attack, and I know I am that name that's circled at the lineup. It's like, how much better can I get? What can I get rid of any holes in my swing or my game? Versus just like more scared or insecure. Like, yeah, I had a good year, but I don't know if I can do it again. I see that more at the high school level.
I talked to a player who was in the College World Series last year, and I asked him what stands out with like the Tommy Tanks, the Dylan Cruzes, the Wyatt Langfords, the guys on Wake Forest, that type of stuff. He said the biggest thing was their physical presence, not their muscles, not the veins popping, not their shoulders. It's their body language and like what's going on the inside. He said when you see those dudes, they know that they're dudes, whether they're smiling and having fun and all that, but like they know that they're the best of the best. And he said this pitcher on his team, he was a first-round pitcher, and he would walk into a dugout, and he would just say like, "Man, you're nasty, you're nasty," and like that player would say the exact same thing. And I talked to one of the coaches that faced that hitter this year. He's leading the Big Ten in nearly almost every hitting stat. And he said, dude, I love watching that dude hit because like you can't tell whether he's having a good day or a bad day. Every single time he looks like he's having the best week of his life. And he just has that physical presence in the batter's box where he almost scares the pitcher out of the strike zone. And he's talking to himself about how good he is because everyone else is talking to themselves about how bad they are. And he's doing the opposite. Why do you think he's really good?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think hitters too, just in general, don't understand like how much like confidence and mentality and presence in the box like makes a difference. I think that I told this story all the time especially when I first started, probably because I didn't know enough about hitting to talk about that too much. Just kidding. I always told people, they talked about my numbers because people that know me know that, I had a very choppy down, chop wood, speed leadoff guy swing, hit ground balls to shortstop. And I completely overhauled my swing and kind of went down that rabbit hole from my sophomore year on. And they asked me, they're like, how much better were your numbers like after you changed your swing? And I was like, they're pretty much the same. Like you could even argue my freshman year numbers were better. Like in some of the years, maybe I had more power, but it was like, they're like, oh, I don't get it then. I thought, then why'd you even change your swing? And I'm like, I definitely became a better hitter all around because my swing got better. But my numbers didn't change. I was like, the reason I had good numbers is because I was a good competitor in the box. Like I never cared who was pitching on the mound. Like I never was like looking at the scouting part like, oh, we're facing this guy tonight. Like I was just like, pitcher's my enemy. I'm going to get something to hit and I'm going to embarrass him. If I have a 12 pitch at bat and strikeout, cool. He's not going to want to face me next time. If I have a foul off a bunch of pitches and get walked, cool. He's going to hate me. Even if I line out, like he's going to be pissed and not want to face me. It's like when you have that mentality, swing out of the game, like that just puts you on a whole nother level. And that's like, okay, if we can piece together the swing, whatever it is, the build, muscles, all that stuff.
Teaching yourself a new swing, overhauling something, learning something. Part of it of actually have the ability to adapt and evolve of, hey, I might not need this, but I have the ability to need it if I ever need it for something. right? When you start swinging up too much, it's like, hey, make sure I remember that feel, or that I can actually do it. I can feel swinging down again if I ever need it in the back of my pocket. So many players never tinker, never adjust. Therefore, they never have to feel. They always keep the same swing over and over. It's like, hey, next weekend you might need to feel down. Next weekend, the weekend after, you might need to feel up. Having the ability to adjust instead of saying, hey, my swing is just not working. It's like, yeah, because you always take the same swing. You got to figure out how to adjust. There's a lot of times on blast motion or Rapsoda or hitting on a field, I'm like, hey, this next round, I want you to get all 5s on blast motion for attacking it, which is a little bit down. This next one, I get you all 25s. The next one, I want you to be all 10. It's like figuring out how to feel down, behind, and up. And it's like whenever you need that feel, you have that in your toolbox. Now you're actually starting to be a complete hitter rather than just taking the same swing, the perfect swing every time, right? Every single day, you're going to feel a little bit different. You're going to need a little bit different feel. So you can have a bigger load, a smaller load, whatever. This is probably the last piece I have for this. I was talking to a college coach, and I sent him a text right after the conversation. And he said, man, what do you do when a player's really struggling with their stride? He said, I typically go no stride. And I said, I actually try the opposite. Now think about this. What happens if you can, obviously this is in training, but what happens if you can get him to actually learn how to control a huge movement, then you back it down to about half the movement? He's learning how to actually control a huge movement. Therefore, when you go down to about half a movement or a toe tap rather than a leg kick, it's so much easier. Versus when you always kind of band-aid and take away the movements, and they never actually learn how to actually move, right? So go super big, then calm it down later. Yep. They actually learn to have that in the toolbox. They actually learn how to like program and move. If they can control somewhat of a leg kick, it's a hell of a lot easier to control a toe tap or whatever, the actual ideal movement. But if you always take away everything, they never actually learn how to actually control everything, right? It's very, very tough. It's kind of the same analogy of when you're in high school, and you never actually have to manage your time. When you go to college, you have to manage your time, so you're not worth it. You're just you're overblown. Versus if you actually challenge yourself in high school a little bit too much to whatever kind of category you want, and then you go to college, it's just a breeze. It's just teaching yourself how to kind of overwhelm yourself so much, so when you go back to normal, it feels way too easy. It's the same thing as the chaos training, right? I'm going to overwhelm you with 95, so 85 feels different. Yep. So like you're really struggling with your stride, I'm going to make you get a super big stride, right? So then you go back to a normal stride, it feels way too easy. It's like, man, that was a piece of cake. It's the opposite of band-aiding it. It's actually like reinforcing, hey, your stride's super easy. I'm going to make it really hard. Therefore, it's going to feel easy again. It's like facing 95 versus 85.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because literally one of the better guys I worked with this offseason, we were really just kind of like, his path was good, he felt good, timing, but we just couldn't figure out his stride. And we kind of were messing around more, so how he was more of a quick mover, quick twitch athlete. So we were trying to be more of like an abbreviated kind of load and go stride. And he was like, that feels like I should do it, but I can't control my back hip or whatever it is, my forward move. I can't control it. And so I was like, all right, we're going to do 2 rounds, same thing off the machine. But like you said, I was like, just do a big leg kick. And he started like feeling really good with the leg kick. And I was like, all right, go back to what we can do. And it was like, yep, there it is. Okay, now, and like you said, it's just like doing something the complete opposite. It makes the middle seem way easier.
It's wild.
100%. Let's talk about one last thing. Let's talk about just that Hormozi quote. Do you have it in front of you just to read that full quote, and we'll kind of wrap up there, just to talk about being around the right people and making sure you're in the right environment as an athlete, coach, person, parent, whatever it is. While we're waiting, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel, please. That'd be great.
The fact that it's difficult means that it's worth doing.
Hey,
keep going where everyone else stops. Good. More for you. I love that. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. I love that, just because it reminds me of another quote from Hormozi where he's just like, when you do hard things that you know other people aren't going to do, it's not like, oh, I hope this works. It turns into like good luck for everyone else who's going to have to try, because, and that's kind of been my philosophy with everything, whether it's been as a hitting coach, whether it's been for me starting a new business. I'm just like, if I can just accept day to day, I'm going to do difficult things and I might suck at them, but like the more I do the difficult things, I'm going to get better. And then I can take on more difficult things. Like I'm going to be a better business owner, person, coach, husband, whatever it is. That's where it's like, for me, just by doing hard things, I feel like you're already putting yourself in the 1%, just because most people give up when it gets even a little bit hard. So if you can really get into the habit where it starts to become easier doing hard things, you start to like it and realize like, oh wow, I can grow and become a much better whatever it is,
Correlation as to learning how to hit 95 when it's way too hard, learning how to drive 95 mile an hour when it's way too hard. When you go back down into the normal average person cruise control, it feels way too easy. That's the same feel, right? Do everything way too hard, more than everyone else. When you go back to actual what it's supposed to be, it's way too easy. It's like, man, this cruise control at 55 or 60, it feels like I'm sitting still because of how hard I'm used to going. It's like, okay, I'm not doing this. I'm going to set my cruise control way higher. My cruise control is way faster and more productive than everyone else's. That's how you have to be in training. That's how you have to be in business, life, as a dad, as a husband, that type of stuff. Program yourself to just go way harder than everyone else. Nobody else can ever catch up. Be the best and be different. And it's the price you got to pay, but it's worth it.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, dude, this has been awesome. I appreciate you hopping on. We're going to have you on again, and maybe we'll do some other stuff in the future, Instagram Live, whatever it is. You're probably already following Trey, but I'll have his social media stuff in the handle or in the description below. Trey, can't thank you enough, man.
I appreciate the trust with your audience, and let's do it again.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.